Hi, my name is Cheryl. Welcome to my channel, Home Ridge Studio. Today is part one of two videos of which I'll be creating tiered tray pieces using mostly Dollar Tree items. So hit the subscribe button and the notification key and give me a big thumbs up so you'll be notified when part two is ready to watch. With all that said, let's craft. And so for DIY number one, we're going to make wine cork pumpkins. So we'll need a glue gun, scissors, paintbrush, orange paint, brown paint, some embellishments like berries, leaves, raffia, and 21 wine corks. And make sure that they're cork and not plastic so the paint will adhere to them. So we're going to start by painting these wine corks. And I have this apple barrel acrylic, and it's called Harvest Orange. And just give it a shake. And put it in whatever kind of container you like. I like these styrofoam bowls I had left over. They work real well when I'm painting. I can just wipe them out when I'm done and use them all over again. And then this Deco Art acrylic, and this is in the color Cinnamon Brown. So now I'm going to show you what not to do. I painted a lot of these ahead of time because there were 21 of them, and I painted them in orange, and this is 2 coats, and you can see right through the paint. So what I had to do was go back and paint brown over the orange, and mostly just to hide the words. Kind of as I'm doing here. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can make it sloppy just as long as you cover the words, and then do the top and the bottom of the cork too. And then now here I'll show you when you just paint it first with the brown, it covers it. And I put them in these bowls. It's a great way to dry them. And then now after they're dry, now I'm painting them back over with the orange, and including the top and the bottom. And here's what you have, 2 bowls of what looks like baby carrots to me. Anyway, take 7 of them and put 1 in the middle, and then 6 of them around the one. And then take a rubber band and tie them off. And then flatten them out. And then get your glue gun. And we're going to put glue in between each one of those. And I put a good amount in there. Make sure it doesn't drip through the bottom. And I made 3 of these. Push up that middle cork, and then glue again because I made 3 of them, and then put 1 with the cork pushed up on a flat one, and then the little one you're just going to push up the cork in the middle. I hope I'm explaining that right. This one I forgot and I glued it, so I just took a cork, cut it in half, and then hot glued it on the top. Any imperfections you can touch up at the end. Super simple. And now I'm going to glue these. I prefer the raffia, but I had these in my stash, so I thought I would maybe glue them on the end. See how the raffia just looks better to me. And then I had these leaves left over from a flower arrangement I made, and I'm just cutting them down to size. And I'm going to put 2 leaves on each one of these. And then pop that bow right in the middle. And then take those berries, and you can wrap them around a pencil. And then just hot glue it in place. And on the taller one, I put 2. One I wrapped around the pencil, and the other piece I just kind of, I don't know, bent it up and twisted it around to make it not look exactly like the other one. Carefully remove the rubber bands, and this is what they look like. A tall one, it's a double stack, and then the short one. And for DIY number 2, we're going to make a pumpkin in a pot. You'll need some Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, Waverly clear sealer if you want to seal it, and a pumpkin of your choice, some berries, ribbon, and a pot. And if you can't find the pot from the Dollar Tree, I did see some at Michael's. And we're going to take that chalk paint and just start painting that pot. I did not paint the bottom here. You can if you like. And I put 2 coats on this. The first coat, it doesn't matter. I just kind of brushed it on. However, just make sure that it's not lumpy, that it doesn't have streaks or big clumps in it. With the second coat, I would be a little bit more careful and make sure you kind of paint from top to bottom or bottom to top. Make sure it's smooth. So 2 coats, let it dry. Put your sealer on if you want it sealed. Let that dry, and we're ready to put some ribbon of your choice. I selected this. I love this. I use this on a lot of my projects. And we're just going to hot glue it right around that edge. And this is what it looks like when it's done. And now you're going to take something to fill the bucket with, or the pot with. And I have a ton of these Dollar Tree bags. I'm sure you recognize them if you go there as much as I do. And I just took 2 of them and smushed them up and shoved them in that pot. Be careful, those pots are very fragile. Now I'm taking some Excelsior from the Dollar Tree. Or you can take raffia, whichever you prefer, or moss even. And I just put a big glob of hot glue and pushed it down in there. Be careful, I did burn myself, it's really hot. Now we're ready to give this pot a haircut. And now you just take the pumpkin of your choice. They have different colors. Some are tall, some are shorter. And you can even use a shiny one if you want. They have tons of them this year, but I like the sharp contrast. And we're just gonna glue it around the edges, and I'm gonna kind of put it down in the middle, kind of leaning up against the pot instead of straight down in the middle. Just hold it there for a second. And then now take some more hot glue, and where that pumpkin touches the edge of that pot, I went ahead and put some hot glue in there. If you want to make it more permanent, I would put E6000 in there, and then, let it dry overnight. Now I take some pit berries, or berry garland, whatever they call it now, wrap it around that pencil. And I just kind of bend it up in half and play with the ends a little bit until you get it how you like it. And then I just hot glue it down. Now you can put leaves on here. You can tie it off with a bow of raffia. You can use jute twine on it, whichever you prefer. DIY number 3, we're going to make a tier tray sign using one of these signs from the Dollar Tree, some corrugated cardboard, a word sign from the Dollar Tree, some paint, some Waverly antique paint, some pumpkins, jute twine, scissors, and a glue gun. And those pumpkins are from the Dollar Tree. So we're going to start by painting all of the pieces that need to be painted. So these little ones are from the Dollar Tree, and they have that clip on the back, and just go ahead and leave that because we will use that to our benefit later. And I'm using this Home Deco chalk paint in the color Cement. Yeah. So give it a good shake and pour some in a bowl or on a plate and see how it's separated. So give that a good mix. And I put 2 coats on this little guy here because you could see the lines through the first coat, and just I put them on wax paper to let it dry. And this is Craft Smart acrylic paint in the color navy, and we're going to paint that pumpkin. And you don't have to use a chalk paint on the first one, that's just what I pulled out of my stash. So I already painted this with navy 2 coats and let that dry. And now the give thanks sign, and these are from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm going to paint that with the cement gray, just like the first little pumpkin. And I only put 1 coat on this because I kind of liked how it looked just with 1 coat. And you don't have to paint the edges because they look like they're already kind of stained brown. And let that dry. And now we're going to fit that corrugated cardboard inside there. So I have this in my stash, and it's really thin, like construction paper, so it was kind of pliable. But I didn't want to pop that sign out, so I was trying to figure a way how to fit that in there. And it was a little bit easier because, you know, there's lines in this. Now, if you can't find this, I know you can find it online. If you can't find it, you can use any kind of paper that you want. You can paint the inside, you know, whatever is to your liking. And notice the lines. So if your sign wasn't completely square, you're going to want to make sure that when you cut it, the lines go up and down or sideways. Whichever way you cut it to fit, you're going to want to make sure that that's the way it's going to fit in there. So you don't cut it and keep cutting it and it's getting smaller. I hope that you understand that. And I just kind of measured it and drew a line there with a pen and cut it. And then I kind of cut it a little bit bigger, you know, just to make sure it gets a good fit in there. And then I realized that those pieces there on top from the hanger were kind of in the way, so I slipped it under there. You may want to clean those up there and cut them off beforehand. And so now we're going to take that antique wax and we're going to distress some of these pieces now that they're dry. And I put kind of a lot on because I really wanted that word to pop. And when I was done, I dry brushed it across the words, across the center, but left the highlight of the outside of the letters darker. And I did the same thing with this pumpkin here. And then this blue one, I decided to use the gray. As you can tell, I glopped it on and it didn't look so good, so it's okay. I just picked up some of the more navy paint and a baby wipe and kind of, you know, played with it. And you can draw like squiggly lines in it, or you can highlight the top of the pumpkin more, however you like it. You just kind of got to play with it a little bit. Don't be afraid because you can always paint over it. So now we're going to take the twine and we're going to hot glue it around the top of that. And so here I'm trying to figure out how not to burn my finger since I do it so often. And then I remembered I had that little finger protector from the Dollar Tree. And then just wrap it around a ton of times, and I get that top really good too. Almost glue it right off the edge on that top so you can't see any wood at all. And then you just cut it down, and as you can tell, that pumpkin wasn't dry because I have glue, or not glue, paint. I have glue on my hands too, but I also have paint all over my fingers. Sorry about that, it's just a little sloppy. I'm a little impatient, I guess. And now I'm going to make 2 bows out of this jute for the pumpkins. A bigger one for the larger pumpkin and a smaller one for the smaller pumpkin. It's just a shoelace bow. So now we're ready to glue our pumpkins in there. I'm going to take him and put some hot glue on the back. And then I'm going to kind of put it on an angle, because I like to put a lot of my designs on an angle for some reason. I think it just gives it more interest. And here's the little gray pumpkin. And so we're going to glue it right on that clothespin, so it gives it some depth. Now we're going to put that give thanks sign on, and of course, you know, I'm going to put it on an angle, but you can put it however you want. You can put it on the bottom, you can put it on the top, in the middle. And it looks a little plain, so that's why I made those bows. Thought it would dress it up a little bit. And there you go. Now here's a different variation. I just used orange, and I think the orange was a terracotta, the darker orange, and a different sign, word sign. And here's a different variation. It's kind of the same thing. I just painted the inside and put burlap, and I didn't use words, and just put that pumpkin in there with some of those pit berries. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification, because not only does that help my channel grow, but you will also be notified when part 2 of my tiered trade project is posted, which will be later this week. Thanks again. Have a great day.